What's going on, everyone? It's a young man. Today is February 1st, 2026. Today, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, strategy, and Metaplanet, the three topics that we've been talking about and are going to continue talking about. So, today, I'm going to be talking a bit about gold and silver as well. Um, Kind of the topic of today's video is going to be the recent price action we've seen with gold and silver and the recent price action that we've seen with Bitcoin. As a lot of you guys know, on this channel, I don't really discuss the day to day. We're not traders. We're not talking about Bitcoin as a trade. We're in this for the long term. We have low time preference because Bitcoin is uh, it's not going to play out in terms of months and years. It's going to play out in terms of decades. So I don't give a whole lot of thought to the day to day and the price action, what Bitcoin's being valued in terms of fiat. That's not really a concern of mine, and it's probably not a concern of a lot of you guys, but it is important to talk about what's going on right now because we're at kind of a pivotal moment. Um, we've seen gold and silver prices skyrocketing, and Bitcoin has been taking a slide down. There's a whole lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But I basically kind of want to give my take on this and kind of just try to describe why the Bitcoin thesis hasn't changed at all. And this is a necessary step of the process. But basically, gold and silver are mooning. And a big reason for this is that the system where the US dollar is the US's number one export, and all the other countries use US treasuries as a store of value. That system is coming to an end. It's been coming to an end for a couple of years, but it's officially dying as we speak. When the conflict in Eastern Europe with Russia really came to a climax and a hot war in 2022, that was a very important moment because the nation of Russia no longer wants anything to do with US debt as a store of value because how could they? They don't want to be stockpiling for their future with an asset that is determined by the USA when the USA is funding a war against them. It makes no sense. It would never be in their best interest to be doing that. And it's actually a miracle that they were doing it up until that point because the escalation has been happening for decades. It's the same thing with China. China does not want to have US treasuries as their reserve. It like I said, it just doesn't make sense. America and China can be friendly, but there's no logical reason for one of these countries to bank on the other country because we know the true nature of the relationship. The West and the East are not, they're not trying to depend on each other. They're trying to do the exact opposite. So, what this is manifesting as is these Eastern countries, these large powers in the East, are rotating out of US debt into hard assets like gold specifically, gold and silver, because these are real material things that can't be printed away and debased and also don't depend on the USA. They want a non sovereign asset. So they're investing in metal. And it makes sense. It makes complete sense. But we've really seen this get ramped up recently. And then you hear a lot of people who are in the Bitcoin space. That I mean, I shouldn't even say a lot of people. Some people in the Bitcoin space are concerned about this because they were expecting Bitcoin to go to the moon when this happens, when we finally see nation states diversify out of treasuries and go into hard assets. So many people were expecting this to just mean they're going to go into Bitcoin. China's not going to go into Bitcoin. at this stage. It's too early. The market cap for Bitcoin is $1.5 trillion dollars. The market cap for gold is $35 trillion dollars. That's 23 times bigger. So when you put money into this pool, whether it be Bitcoin or gold, it's going to change the market cap and change the price. China's trade deficit was positive 1.5 trillion. That's the entire market cap of Bitcoin, and that's just 1 year. They have that money to invest. They're not going to put that money into a asset class that has a market cap that size. They would send Bitcoin to 10 million a coin with one buy. Like that, people don't understand the scale. Gold is necessary for this moment in time for these other countries that aren't the USA to get out of US debt. They have to use gold because it's the only pool that's big enough to absorb their investment. That's not to say Bitcoin is doomed. This is a necessary step. This is actually proving the hardest part of the Bitcoin thesis that countries are going to um, flock towards these hard assets, these non-sovereign assets. This is proof that that is going to happen, and it is already happening. Just because it wasn't Bitcoin yet doesn't mean it's not going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin is better than gold in every single way. And I'm not going to get into that because that's not what this video is about. I'm not going to be comparing Bitcoin and gold because gold has been around forever. Bitcoin has been around since 2009. Gold has been tried before. It doesn't work. Bitcoin has not been tried on this large scale, and it's being tested out. The waters are being tested. Institutional adoption has been going on for a year, year and a half, 2 years. I mean, on a larger scale, Strategy's been doing it since 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but hundreds of treasury companies didn't exist until about a year ago. For nation states to go all in on Bitcoin, that's going to play out over decades. It's not going to play out over 2026. And the bottom line also is that we don't want that. As Bitcoiners, you don't want that to happen. If Russia and China threw $1 trillion into Bitcoin right now, you would be priced out and you'd be trapped. You would be fiat standard. You would have to buy $10 million Bitcoin. Instead, we're going to have a slow transition towards digital scarcity on a nation state level, and you're going to have time to accumulate more sats. That's what we want. So everything that's playing out right now, if you think about it on a long time horizon, it's exactly what we've been wanting. And as far as strategy and Metaplanet, it's exactly what they've been wanting. They don't want to be priced out either. They're trying to get as many coins as they can before the supply shock happens. And if we had large nations YOLOing into Bitcoin right now, they would end up with significantly less. And as an investor, you would end up with significantly less Bitcoin per share. So the gold bull run, that's expected. It's the debasement trade. Everyone's been talking about nobody wants dollars. Dollars don't work. They don't store value. Everyone wants hard assets, everyone wants gold, and everyone will eventually want digital gold. It's necessary to have this middle ground between long dollar and long Bitcoin. There's going to be a transition, and that's what's happening right now. That's why gold's $5,000 an ounce. That's why silver is going up 10% every single day. And it's it's mega bullish for Bitcoin. We're in the perfect situation. Not to mention, Bitcoin today is at $78,000. In October, when we were at $120,000, I thought I would never get the chance to be accumulating at this type of level. And now I have the chance, and it's great. And I hope that everyone, if you happen to come across this video, If you're not familiar with Bitcoin, I hope that you look into this because the time that we have to accumulate Bitcoin is running out. And it's only going to get harder and harder as time moves forward because you're not just competing with your peers, you're not just competing with your coworkers to accumulate this scarce asset. You're accumulating you're accumulating Bitcoin against institutions like Strategy that are buying 20,000 Bitcoin in a week. You don't have access to the capital markets. You don't have Stretch. Saylor has Stretch, and he can raise billions of dollars to buy Bitcoin, and you can only make a couple $100 a week to buy Bitcoin. So while it's cheap, at an advantage. As it gets more expensive, these institutions are still going to be able to accumulate significant amounts, and you will not be. And that's just the institutional adoption phase. We're eventually going to head towards a nation state adoption phase. We already have a few countries buying, but we don't have the major powers of the world buying, as I discussed earlier, but we will soon. And so every day that that process is postponed is a gift to the individual. And as Bitcoiners, we all hope that the individual holds Bitcoin. We don't want this to turn into one of these things where you have to rent it from a corporation, you have to rent it from someone with more power than you. That's already the case for real estate, it's already the case for land, it's already the case for time. You don't have time. You have to ask permission to have time because of the fiat system. At this point, we can buy and own and self-custody Bitcoin, which manifests as time. We're given a chance to escape the closed system. And that's why I make these videos. It's very significant. It's a major turning point in civilization. And it's my hope that as many individuals realize this before it's too late and that they can empower other individuals to have a chance at escaping because the doors are going to close. It's going to be the nations and the corporations that own all the Bitcoin, and there will never be more Bitcoin. So I just hope that if you watch this, you take the initiative to research Bitcoin and start stacking sats and buy a hardware wallet and self custody because in a couple years there will be no chance for anyone. And that sounds extreme. I don't mean to sound cynical. Obviously, there's always hope, but Bitcoin presents an opportunity, and I just think that the opportunity is going to dwindle over the next couple of years. So I hope this was helpful. If you watched till the end, thank you. If you clicked on the video, thank you. Um, and yeah, I hope to make another video here soon.